Hi,
Hey, for Frolic, here we go.
let's do it.
I'm really excited for this level for a bunch of reasons, but we can go into them while we play rather than while we stand motionless at the beginning.
Ooh, a good idea.
You're almost there. The sphere to Ryan is up on ahead. Ryan's handed the keys to Fort Frolic over to a guy named Sander Cohen. Cohen's an artist, says some.
You know, an
Section 8,
artist.
says I.
Ugh.
I've seen all kinds of cutthroats, freaks, and hard cases in my life. But Cohen, he's a real lunatic. Guy's a full psychopath.
Game doesn't have the best discussion of mental health at any point, really, in
No.
Bioshock, ever.
No. No.
At any point.
Or sexuality.
Or sexuality. It's a game that wants to be talking about all this stuff, but isn't.
And it doesn't do a very good job of talking about identity, in part because of those previous failings, although it claims to be a game which really wants to talk about like sense of self and identity, but it falls significantly short because it, has a very small cast of characters who are largely white and male.
This is going to be
and
really
sex.
racist, isn't it?
Yes.
Let me tell you this. I would have bet on you.
Well, just a New Yorker, but still pretty racist generally.
Mm-hmm.
All these ticket stubs elsewhere. So we got some sort of closed off apothecary.
Yep.
and
Well,
we
yeah.
got-
I remember when we were, early on and we were doing that level with Dr.
Steinman?
Dr. Steinman. God, why can't I?
It's been
That was like-
45 years.
That's true. It has been 80 years. Even the failings at discussing gender in a thoughtful way, and I don't know how much of that is the state of the industry in 2007 or the state of the world in 2007. But you'd think that today we had better conversations in games, and I don't necessarily think that we do, except
No.
in smaller spheres when you look for it.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
That having been said,
Let's do it.
let's do it.
Let's go into Rapture Metro. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, that having been said, let's move on. But I think it's really important to put these kinds of qualifiers ahead of levels that, we talk about being very influential. And I think Fort Frolic is definitely one that is.
Yeah.
And when I think about Bioshock now, I think this is the only level that I really remember. I didn't even, I don't remember the name. Like, it took me a while to be like, oh, right, this is Fort Frolic. But it's the level that sticks with someone the most, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to play this level.
And so we have to add these caveats.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think one of the ways that this level sticks in people's heads is it has an unbelievably striking opening. Which goes like this. Again, a themed metro station. Which is really cool. So, right off the bat, we're not staying in Fort Frolic. We're heading to Ryan Industries to kill Andrew Ryan.
That's better. Atlas Ryan. Atlas Ryan. Da 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 da. Time-wise, you could get something decent on the radio. The artist has a duty to seduce the ear and delight the spirit. So say goodbye to those two blowhards, and hello to an evening with Sander Cohen.
And it is an interesting conversation, right? What is the role of the artist in Rapture?
Yeah, in a space that is so proudly logical and so proudly scientific.
I don't know if I would say proudly logical more than like proudly productive and reliant on things which I would not consider the creative labors.
Yeah. I think another interesting caveat to begin this level with is, in the years following the release of Fort Frolic, and now we've seen a bunch of AAA studios and indie developers go through a lot of different incarnations of kind of like strange boss encounters beyond sort of enemies. Often this is coded in language of mental illness, but like you see this all the time in the Far Cry games, you see this in several of the Assassin's Creed games. Recent Wolfenstein games have been through stuff like this, but it's interesting to play for Frolic as kind of the genesis of this idea of taking the player to one side and putting them in a space where the basic rules of the game and the basic rules of the game's visual design begin to come apart, like these curtains closing around the ocean, and the whole color palette of this room changing to these reds and purples. This was kind of
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because for me, this brings strong memories of Mantis.
That's
Metal
true.
Gear Solid. Where you have this, omniscient, omnipresent boss who takes the rules of the game and kind of engages with them in a way that you would not necessarily expect.
Yeah, I think that's true. Mantis is predominantly a boss, though, right?
Right. And I'm not going to claim to be any sort of like Metal Gear Solid buff.
No, but no, yeah, Mantis, I guess, is.
Let's see if you're just another Johnny come lately.
An interesting visual caveat to that. All right, so here we go. Spider splicers, the new type of splicer.
I love them.
If this is your first time, playing Bioshock with us, these are, I think, the last type of splicers that we'll meet in Bioshock 1. And they are terrifying.
They
also,
sure are.
If you think they're bad now, wait till you see them in Bioshock 2. They have this...
I think...
Oh, go on.
Sorry. Well, I just want to, while we're still kind of talking about the aesthetics of... kind of very striking aesthetics that Bioshock has, and also depictions of mental illness. I think a lot about Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, for the GameCube. Which I think is a hugely foundational and very important game in these sort of depictions of the absurd and the surreal, and conversations about like otherworldly mental illness.
I've never played it.
I love that game, or at least I loved it when I was like 14.
Also, I've just realized I tell a massive lie. We have seen spider splicers before. We've seen them since Neptune's Bounty.
And we see that crawling along the...
We fought them in Neptune's Bounty.
Did we?
Yeah, like we have a
Photographic evidence?
gene tonic upgrade that is like lets us eat their hearts. Do you remember?
Oh my god, no. But please do that.
You can pick them up and use them as.
Come in.
And then these things lift up.
At the Fleet Hall.
But it's interesting that I thought that this was the first time we'd seen them, because their aesthetic of these things scuttering on ceilings and the sound design of the plaster breaking is very much... I associate it very strongly with Fort Frolic.
Well, the pals were up there.
The pals? They were?
Yeah, they were up there. They were.
The 4 pals.
Oh.
Anything we want to pick up here? I'd like to pick up some shotgun rounds, but I can't afford them.
So you didn't want to search that trash can?
Whoa.
Here we are.
Welcome to Fort Frolic.
So we have the spotlight following us at all times.
It's so good.
Transmissions of those boors, Atlas and Ryan. Let them have their squabble. The artist, yes, the artist knows there is richer earth to till. For example,
You know,
I test you, little moth, but for a reason. I test all my disciples. Some shine like galaxies, and some burn like a moth at the flame. Come now into my home.
conversations about gender and sexuality feel so present in this game in how starkly they are not talked about.
Yeah.
Thinking about Steinman and Sander Cohen, there's a lot that could be unpacked here. I'm not well equipped enough, but nor do I want to. But if someone were to, I would read that paper.
Yeah. It's and being cast as this staunchly masculine figure, with this crisp Faroe Island sweater, chains on our wrists, and
Yep.
characters constantly referring to us as lad and my boy, and it's
so homogeneously gendered
yeah.
in this like homoerotic utopia of like the man with the sweat on his brow being
Yeah.
surrounded by all these like desexualized little girls. And then you have characters like Steinman who are aggressively pursuing these, ideals of beauty. And then you have, Ryan's mistresses, and then you have Sander Cohen, and you have all this imagery surrounding you of like sexualized women. But it's never engaged with.
No,
And
not
I
at
think
any
about,
point.
not at any point. And I think about, so in some of the work that I'm doing right now, definitely do some hacking while I talk about this. In some of the work that I'm doing right now, we've been looking back at Alan Turing's foundational papers for the Turing test in Theory of Mind, where he talks about the initial Turing test, which of course is how you talk to a computer and you try and discern whether the computer is a person or a computer. And the way that he initially presents this problem is he says, say there were two people on the other side of a wall, and you were communicating to them via a mediator, and one of them was a man and one of them was a woman. Would you be able to discern who was the man and who was the woman? And he creates this foundational understanding of human-computer interaction based on theories of gender. And it's so, I hesitate to say like insidious, but conversations around gender and around Turing and Turing sexuality are at the foundation of HCI. And yet it's one that we don't want to engage with, even though it's so present. And that's my miniature soapbox movement here in the middle of Bioshock. And its reluctance to consider engagement with gender and sexuality despite it being so prevalent.
It's 2017. There's definitely a place for these soapboxes that where if the middle of an LP of Bioshock isn't the place for these soapboxes to happen, I don't know where it is. And this is part of the reason I'm so excited to get to Bioshock 2, because while I don't know if Bioshock 2, and I don't anticipate Bioshock 2 will discuss gender and sexuality well, I distinctly remember it doing it. which is gonna. I mean, it has a bunch more women and a
Yeah.
bunch more people of color.
Yeah.
Right from the start, which is. I'm really curious about that, but it's especially striking as we move further and further into this game, and there's just a dearth of discussion about this stuff. Your description of its absence as being like so distinctly marked is a really, really good way of putting it. It's like it's just not there.
Yeah. And it feels willful.
Yeah, it absolutely feels willful. It absolutely feels like discussion. I bet discussions were had about it. Like, it feels like discussions were had that were then moved on from.
Because Sandra Cohen is so coded.
Yeah, and we'll get more of this as we see more of the level.
Yes.
But I'm also like
Let's
thinking
do some level.
I'm thinking a lot about Bioshock 2 here at this point, because this level was directed just like this is something I should be doing more of, actually. I want to like call attention to who the level directors were. Arcadia was directed by J.P. Lebreton, and this is directed by Jordan Thomas, who went on to game direct Bioshock 2. And when this game was released, Jordan Thomas was kind of had some level of infamy for his design direction on a level in Thief 3 called Robbing the Cradle, which at the
And
time
you love
was
Thief.
release. Yeah, I haven't played Thief 3. I've played bits of Thief 3, but I like Thief a whole bunch. But Robbing the Cradle was kind of at the time of its release considered by a lot of people to be kind of like the most modern, most interesting incarnation of a horror level in a game when it was released. So even prior to this game's release, a bunch of people were interested to see what Jordan Thomas would make in it. And he made full Frolic with the rest of his team. So that's kind of the climate in which this level was produced. We have an audio diary. What's Diane?
Stood up again.
Ah.
Second time this week. Ever since my face was... Well, Steinman worked on me, but it was never the same since the blast. Being alone so much gives a girl time to think. Who could hate me so much they'd ruin me like this? What did I do to them? You know, I keep thinking of all them bandits and terrorists Ryan's got locked up in Apollo Square, and I get so mad. Sometimes I can hardly breathe. If I could only confront them, tell them what they did to me, how they're ruining everything for me, for Rapture. Maybe I feel better.
God, her voice actor is incredible.
I know. And again, we have this negation of femininity.
Yeah. And at the same time, this conflation of the feminine body and the architectural body in Rapture. Which is a really interesting parallel to draw, especially with like traditionally nautical imagery.
And also the treatment of nautical space as very gendered.
Yeah.
You know, ships
Yeah.
are given she pronouns, and like the water is a woman, and you know, you're married to the sea or whatever.
Her line about like ruining what they've done to me and what they've done to Rapture as being essentially the same thing was really interesting. Patrick and Moira, a musical, the story of love after death. God, this horrible glass.
The scrim. I think it's a scrim.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh boy, what a floor show every
Jasmine
night.
Jolene, Andrew Ryan's favorite gal. Sandra Cohen's
Jasmine Jolene.
bedtime surprise. Yeah, it is a
Bedtime
scrim.
surprise. Golly gee, I just want to be in the pictures, mister. Put me on the stage.
I love these lights.
They're so good.
So this is another weird scripted sequence that we get right off the bat. Oh, wait. Gonna grab these, because when I was playing through Arcadia after having been away from it for some time, at no point was I ever like, wow, such a shame that these security cameras are all on my side.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I should do that here. One of these?
Wow, your current revealed tubes are how I wish the world were like.
I don't... What?
Ask me why. Ask me why.
Why?
No, straights.
Oh. Hey, that's a sick burn.
Yeah. You know, I'm just trying to bring that really thoughtful conversation of sex and sexuality into Bioshock.
Yeah, for real. Okay. Cool. Another... Yeah, there are scrims. I'd always previously read them as, like, glass, like opaque glass.
I mean, they could be, because, I mean, like, a scrim only shows what's on it when light is on it.
Yeah.
And is otherwise see-through, or, like, the other way around. I don't know.
But in terms of
so long
the
ago.
kind of the metaphorical and direct mise-en-scène of this whole level is, like, overwhelmingly theatrical. So...
Oh, Jack, I know that we got to, like, some really heady places, but saying, like, the theoretical mise-en-scène is, like...
I just mean that it's, like, I don't know, it's, like... There's stuff this game is doing intentionally because this is a theater, and I feel stuff its art directors are like, let's try and evoke a theater with this stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I explained myself.
Yeah, good.
So this elevator is out of action?
I think we know who we are.
I think we know who we are.
I think we know.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh, whole team showed up. Freeze!
Please, the cast.
I deserve that. Oh, I think they brought in some friends.
Some Susans of their own?
No, we're good. Okay, can we go through
they're
this now,
our
please,
Susans.
Sandagon? We cannot. I'm just wasting this electric bug left and right. I should get back to Tommy.
Yeah. I think, don't you have to go up to the mezzanine? And then the lights?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I don't know, I could be entirely wrong. Because I misremember a lot of this game.
And again, we're very good at the guitar.
Hmm.
Let's see what we got here.
Regarding your review of Anna Culpepper's latest musical insult, of all the worthy artists in Rapture, why you continue to devote column inches to this musical gremlin is beyond my imagination.
That is a good insult.
She's boring. Where she's not boring, she's obvious. Where she's not obvious, she's dangerous.
The musical gremlin. Same. Oh my god, I want to be a musical gremlin. Sorry, I'm hypnotized by this guitar that is A, the two sides of a person, and B, the protagonist can play really well.
I think it's also canon that Booker plays the guitar.
Oh, yeah. There was that period around 2013, 2014 where all the male protagonists played guitars in their video games.
Does Joel play the guitar?
He does, yeah.
Well, we hit all the marks.
Possibly think I would meet with
Oh, yeah, he's in here.
when I'm
Yeah.
I love this. You have his shadow, but you like physically can't see the model, which I think leads to a really cool moment later in the level.
There's some Adam on the...
Oh
Not
yeah, I
Adam,
see.
but
The Eve Hypo.
Yeah.
To be fair,
I
the
don't know
game
what any of this
isn't
is.
super clear as to how those two are distinguished.
No
But,
idea. No, Adam is the bigger bits.
Eve is the smaller bits.
Eve is the
Look
small
at this
bits.
tiki bar. Right. I guess the elevator opened up. Right.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling a little sleepy.
All right. Yeah.
But if we can get through this story sequence. And then...
silence. Allegro,
Once again, young Fitzpatrick.
Oh God, you sick fuck, let me out of there!
Come down now, little more. Life, death. The burden of the artist is to capture. See young Fitzpatrick
Edgy.
here on the stage. Use your camera. Take him as he is now, so I may remember him.
So this is kind of the arc of this, the central mechanical arc of this level.
Mm-hmm.
In a kind of abstract, in a kind of if I were to just see a list of objectives, photograph the dead pianist is a hell of an objective to see.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, wait.
And now you've got Fitzpatrick caught in his moment of glory. It seems you've got the eye of the shutterbug, little moth. Now, head to the atrium and place his photograph in my masterpiece. And so, our collaboration commences.
So I think we'll do that at the beginning of the next episode. I think
Sounds good.
stay here on this stage, surrounded by weird plaster figures.
My favorite way to be.
But yeah, surrounded by weird plaster figures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've seen my apartment.
that's true. So next time we're gonna go place a photograph on a masterpiece, and we're gonna explore the rest of Fleet Hall.
All right. Let's do it.